Hello, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sunrise Daily today. I'm Chamberlain Oso.
Well, it's another beautiful day. It's a Tuesday. Thank you so much for... I don't know whether Hamatan has gotten to where you are, but it's suddenly blowing itself away right here in Abuja. Welcome to the program. I'm Maokwe Yusuf.
Well, fantastic. It has announced itself in Abuja as well. Good old Hamatan fog. Good morning and welcome. It's a full house today. I am Bukola Koka.
Whether you like it or not, some people live in the Hamatan every day of their lives, even in their cars. Good morning and welcome. Today is December 12. As Marco said, it's a Tuesday morning. I'm Ayo Makinde.
Well, yes, indeed. So, yeah, I mean, much as it's that season. But of course, you know, different things, different strokes, different folks. Yes, we're keeping an eye on what's going on in Rivers. And you know how emotional some of these things can be. And sometimes when you've been in the news business for a while and you kind of see certain things play out, and when you just kind of, you know, go somewhat philosophical or tempered about something, it's all hell breaks loose. But there's several theories, you know, about what's going on, which we'll get to see and explore some of them. But we also know that the Minister of Health is trying to get a lot of people's attention to so many things, because we haven't forgotten that the authorities, the president did sign an MOU with the ministers in terms of their performance.
Indeed.
And they are all expected to perform.
Indeed.
So we're keeping tabs from a distance, and we'll come to quite a number of them. But there are several areas where you will expect that those ministers, in fact, all of them, should know that at the end of the day, it is what the people have seen and feel, and they can verify that these things have indeed been done. To a large extent, that is how they will be measured at the end of the day. But I wonder sometimes some ministers like Labour, he's got a senatorial ticket. Is he going to go back to the Senate? Is he going to stay as Minister of Labour?
I think it's important for him to make a decision fast. I mean, he's dithering a little too much, because last week we saw groups from Plateau State making a case for them to be given a ministerial slot, that their own side, I think their own senatorial zone, had not produced a minister before now. And they want, you know, to be able to produce a minister. They can already see the sign on the wall that it seems that the minister would like to go to the Senate.
I see.
This is on the back of the fact that he had gone to pick up his certificate of return issued by INEC as ordered by the court. But I mean, this is over a week now. We haven't seen any steps. So what exactly is happening? Is he waiting for something within the ministry to happen first before he finally goes to take his oath of office as a senator? Precisely where exactly are we in the situation? But I do not think that they have time for this sort of dithering. It's either you minister, or you come out clearly to say, well, regardless of what the court has said, I'm no longer interested in being a senator. I just want to be a minister. I'd rather serve as a minister. I think that it's very important for people to be able to make such clear choices and let the people of Plateau who need representation at that particular point to be represented, and properly so too at the legislature.
Oh, it'll be very, very important that that happens. But sometimes you also ask yourself, so what about the Ministry of Petroleum and Gas? How will they be assessed? Because the president is the Minister of Petroleum.
You know, the former CBN governor, it's very controversial, you know, his emir status, but at least we know when we say SLS, we know, everyone knows who we're talking about. Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, there's no confusion about his name, you know, was addressing a group of bankers very recently, and almost every single thing he said was headline news. I remember speaking with the correspondent who covered that particular event when she came back, and she said, you know what, the coordinating minister of the economy said, look, there's no point almost speaking to you guys because the papers already have their headlines for tomorrow. You know, the former CBN governor was very clear. He said, look, let the president not be Minister of Petroleum, because if other ministers have any issue to take on with the Minister of Petroleum, they cannot do it freely because whatever accusation, whatever discontent, whatever problems they have, they cannot say it directly, because saying it directly or talking about the Ministry of Petroleum might mean that you're accusing the president, and nobody wants to do that. So to be able to bring it down to their level, you know, it is important that he appoints a Minister of Petroleum who's responsible to him. Now, I think that the conversation should be out there, and I think my colleagues can as well weigh in on this. When he said that, I thought to myself, would that be the only reason? Should that be the only reason? Because the experience we had last time we had a substantive Minister of Petroleum was not very pleasant. So if that is the only reason, well, it's not like I see when we also had a president who was minister, there was any major difference. In fact, maybe the ministry even suffered some more. We don't know. I mean, the jury is still out there. You guys can tell us what you think about whether when we had a president, former President Buhari was Minister of Petroleum, but some people might argue that it could have been a lot worse. Maybe there was some fear or some caution or restraint exercised as a result of the fact that, oh, it is the president who is heading this ministry. Or maybe it even makes it more difficult to probe the affairs of a ministry because the president was directly overseeing.
You can't call him for questioning.
You can't call him for questioning. So, guys, what do you think? Do you think that the president should heed the call of the former CBN governor? Unless you can call him that, I keep saying. Or do you think that, you know, it's all well and good. After all, there is a Minister of State who is still answerable and can be called on occasions, like whenever it is that it demands that.
Well, Malkwe, the coming days will be telling about, you know, how much of a listening government this government is, particularly with its response or silence to the former CBN governor on that very, very uncomfortable call in some quarters that there should be a substantive Minister of Petroleum, you know, a senior minister, as we say it in these climes, you know, other than having to look the way of the junior minister. And by the way, that ministry now has a Minister of State, Gas, and the other one, Minister of State, Petroleum Resources. You know, but the most important thing is the accountability in that ministry about so many questions being asked, you know, about the dollars, you know, and about oil theft, and about, you know, bringing to account those who have been found culpable in one thing or the other. So is President Tinubu listening? Is he going to appoint a substantive Minister of Petroleum? Or in the coming days and years of this administration, in the lifespan of this government, are we going to see, you know, a more effective management of that ministry, such that we'll have increase in, you know, sales from crude oil? You know, our foreign reserves will be more buoyant than what it has been in the last decade. Well, as you say, Malpa, the jury is out there. The media particularly is watching, and you know, we're going to see the legacy of that administration in the coming days. But I also can't resist the urge, you know, to talk about why, you know, politics in these climes is very, very peculiar. You know, why our politicians would rather not have the security of tenure that a National Assembly provides and would choose to, you know, be in the glorified cabinet of the federal government. And we've seen, besides the Minister of Labor, you know, other National Assembly members choosing to take up a position in the cabinet. The former governor of Ebonyi State is one good example. And rather than remaining in the National Assembly, that provides a security of tenure. There must be something, you know, about the executive that makes it seem more attractive to these politicians, so to speak. But the people of Plateau are waiting to see, you know, what decision will be taken in that regard. But more importantly is the performance, you know, of this cabinet in the overall. And that's why, you know, I'll also put in a word about the Ministry of Health. There are more important issues there that should be looked into, particularly with the all-important need to meet the SDG goal, on, healthcare delivery, eradication of, diseases and all of that, and especially to stem the tide in the brain drain. I think that's the target. That should be the focus of the ministry. Ayo, what do you think?
Well, starting from that part, I'd just want to ask the question when the minister was talking about primary health care centers and all. The question comes back to me, please. Where are the local government administrators who are supposed to be championing PHCs? They are the lowest. The primary health care centers are where we have local government and where we have the most people. People go to secondary institutions like general hospitals for the most mundane things that should have been handled at the base level primary health care centers. So is there anything, while the federal government, one can applaud, I mean, it's doing all it can to ensure that that center, that level of health works. So how come we don't have the local government administrators who are supposed to be championing it? Or am I getting something wrong? And Marco, when you talk about the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources, I don't even know, do we still have a Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources when the president is the Minister of Petroleum? Shouldn't we then have something like the Presidency Office of the Petroleum Resources or something like that, and then we maybe have a DG? But it dates back to the Abdulsalami Abubakar days when the head of state or president had always served as Minister of Petroleum. And yes, Malcolm, you also mentioned the fact that the time that we had a substantive Minister of Petroleum, we still had issues. So those questions are yet to be answered. Those questions as to why the president chooses or have been chosen to be petroleum minister, those issues are unresolved. Those issues are unanswered. And the issues of oil theft, of non-functional refineries, and so on and so forth, they remain unanswered. We have had specialists here tell us the reasons why some of these petroleum refineries have not worked over the years. In the inclusion, or rather the infiltration of politics or politicians into the petroleum ministry in Nigeria, petroleum industry in Nigeria. Is there any way the Petroleum Industry Act has been able to intervene in that matter at all? So those questions remain. The president should not be Minister of Petroleum, but is there a law that forbids him? Maybe this goes back to the National Assembly, which, by the way, have committees in charge of petroleum resources, or don't they? What are those ones doing to ensure that the needful is done in that regard? Well, the jury may be out, but so are Nigerians asking questions. Chamberlain.
What if the president doesn't mind? Say, look, did I complain to all of you that anybody who calls me for questioning, I have a problem with that? What if?
Exactly. You should be asking the lawmakers.
Oh, boy. Sometimes
it's just about the courage to do it, It's the courage to even say, was someone in the president? Mr. President, come before this committee and answer questions.
Maybe they'll say, well, someone in the Minister of Petroleum. Is it the president? Oh, well, is it Minister of Petroleum or someone? So
don't be clever by half.
But who knows?
Say it with your full chest, as we would say.
Because at the end of the day, look, questions have got to be answered really. He's bogged down with so many things. So I guess we'll wait and see if they consider it worthy of response, because, I mean, that may not be the main reason or the only reason, because some of this, sometimes, they just say these things because you're driving somewhere. Because if you look at the following statements, where are the dollars?
That would be a good place to start.
Who's going to answer the question?
That would be a very good place to start, because the former CBN governor also said that. I mean, that was what cost him his job, asking, where are the dollars? So
because if he's doing that point blank, it means who is supervising that ministry? It's the Minister of Petroleum. Who is the Minister of Petroleum? It's also the president. So you see why that conundrum might be the case. But why it may look as if you're also accusing the president. Because if that's the cash cow of politicians, the president's a politician. that what's going on?
But the NNPC can weigh in on that, to be honest, since they are the ones in charge of the sales.
Yeah, they said they don't have accurate, what's that, equipment or something to actually determine the accurate amount of crude to produce.
Is it rocket science, or what will it take to have it?
This is more than rockets. This is science. For the NNPC? Oh boy, you don't want to start. Let's
not go
with
there.
Vanguard newspaper this morning. Well, look, this picture gets me much more than the headline. Of course, the headline is important, but I love this picture that I see right here on the front page of Vanguard newspapers this morning. And so, permit me to just go ahead. Osimhen Oshoala win CAF award. So, Nigeria ruins. CAF royalties, they are on the front page of the Daily this morning. The male footballer and female footballer of the year, both of them flying the green and white flag. So we'll look at that as well and the implication it has on the country's football. Good to see this. It's the kind of things that put smiles on your faces, isn't it? So, oh boy. So that right there is very good optics, especially this festive season where, you know, you want it all to be, you know, nice, lovely, smiles everywhere. But there are no smiles now for those who are going to the banks, because banks ration cash as naira scarcity intensifies. Vanguard reports this morning. POS operators hike transaction fees. CBN suspends charges on large cash deposits. About time for that one. I think they're reviewing previous policies in piecemeal, you know, just gradually approaching them and taking away some of these impediments, as it were. But for POS operators to hike transaction fees, you then ask yourself, so what is going on with all of these things? Well, so that's a big one on the front page of Vanguard here today. Of course, they've got several others, but I'm going to leave it here with the Vanguard today.
I'm a little spoiled for choice now. I mean, there's that picture also on the front page of Leadership, but this is a very pressing one, and I think it goes to highlight even further what Ayo was talking about earlier. Health sector crisis. Nigeria to lose 500 consultants to retirement, brain drain. That's according to MD Khan. I'm looking at the front page of New Telegraph for you. That's something really, really, really bothersome. If you've ever been in a difficult health position and you've had to see a consultant, you know the confidence that it gives when you're seeing a consultant, and you know how scarce, how much more scarce they're becoming. And you know you have a consultant for every single ailment, every single part of your body. And if you're going to be losing 500 to retirement, brain drain, even if you poured in 50 trillion naira today, you cannot get consultants in 1 year. It takes time. It's something that takes time and effort and, you know, energy and willingness on the part of people to learn. It takes years for people to, you know, attain the status of consultants in the health field. So this is something really to, you know, bother us, and rightfully so. It's making headlines on the front page of New Telegraph. Nigeria to lose 500 consultants to retirement, brain drain. Don't you think we should extend their retirement ages? I mean, if we're doing that for judges, and we're doing that for every other cadre, professors, why not doctors? Well,
food for thought.
It's just that the doctors too are looking forward to retirement sometimes. I mean, it's becoming quite a real chore. When you see or you know anybody who has trained to become a doctor and is working in a government hospital, you really feel sorry for them. They don't have any hours of rest. Their hours are so unpredictable. People are working, you know, really long, gruesome hours because of the shortage of medical personnel. And, you know, may God bless their sacrifices. But I think that this is something that we should consider an emergency. Says sector lost close to 1,000 consultants in the last 5 years. Warns of bleak future as staff strength halved, hospital units closing, quality of patient care reducing. This is something to really, really bother us. I'm very bothered. Triple
and rightly so.
I'm very, very bothered. Page 4 is where you'll find details of this. You also have a number of other stories right here. Nigeria thrown into darkness as national grid collapses again. Well, you would have thought Rivers would be on the front page this morning, taking over all of the headlines. But interestingly, it looks like they've just put it in one corner. It's going to make front page, but no, you're not our major news. That is indicative of something, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you see here, Rivers crisis, Fubara holds emergency meeting as 27 lawmakers dump PDP for APC. Call Wike to order, Clark tells Tinubu. You find details on pages 2 and 31. And I'll take this last one. CAR, CBN faults negative reports against banks, says lenders healthy, cautions against MPO's activities, orders suspension of cash processing fees. So you find details on pages 3 and 25. That was only bright part in that entire thing that they released yesterday. But just in case you're wondering, there are a number of abbreviations there. I can tell you what CBN is, Central Bank of Nigeria. CAR is capital adequacy ratio. So they say there's no problem with that. Rest assured our banks are healthy. How can they not be? All that fat profits they're posting all the time. Let's leave it there for New Telegraph.
Well, you forgot to mention something at the bottom of that page. The study says pastries can slow down blood flow to brain. That's the New Telegraph. You want to say something?
Well, yes, indeed I am. I'm going to say something. Parents, be careful about the pastries, the measure of pastries you put in your children's lunch bags. Well, it's a mixed bag that is on the front page of Daily Independent this morning. And I'll start with the not-so-nice one. Job losses put contributory pension scheme at risk as 475,230 job losers withdraw 208.86 billion naira pension funds. That's a stark reality right there. The other day there was a story on one of the front pages of the mainstream media about Nigerians now resorting to quick loans to meet immediate needs, not long-term needs, not to fund businesses, but just to make ends meet, quick loans. That's a very unpleasant reality, but the reasons are not far-fetched. Headline inflation rate going well above 26%, food inflation being even worse, and what choice, what options do Nigerians have? I hope Mr. President is listening this morning.
When we talk about these things, can we, for God's sake, the president or the federal government have their problems. How about the states? Have we reviewed the numbers in Sokoto State, being the state with the highest population of multidimensionally poor people?
Poor persons.
What is the governor of that state doing? What is the governor, just how many days ago, how many hours ago, we got this news that the Borno State governor launched 107, vehicles and all, just to palliate their people, in the light of what's happening in the country, and several other states in the north and in the south of Nigeria. What are the governors doing? Yes, the president, you got your work cut out for you. But how about, so does every state governor in the state. We're talking about local government administration. Mark is talking about us losing consultants. Those are probably at the secondary health tier of the country. How about the primary healthcare system?
Well, Aya, if you ask me, all of them have a commitment to the social contract, and they all have questions to answer, whether at the federal level or at the subnational level.
They have a duty. Do they have a commitment? They have a duty.
That's a question we should ask.
Okay.
Are they committed? Okay, let's look at some other stories now. Northern reps to spend 350 million naira on bombed Kaduna community. Pleasant one there, but after the fact, after more than 87 lives have been lost. Budget is asking some questions this morning. Budget raises questions over 2024 budget, calls for urgent review. And just one more before we exit Daily Independent. There's no plan for increase in tax rate. as ascribed to the federal government. So pleasant news for manufacturers and indeed the generality of Nigerians, but until that is seen in the viability of the economy, Nigerians will keep waiting, I guess.
Well, even if it's pleasant news for manufacturers, how about farmers? That's what you have on the front page of the Nigerian Observer this morning, and it's the story. It leads and reads thus: FG blames Emefiele's Naira redesign for farmers' financial woes. Okay, granted. So what next? Government is a continuum. Now that the blame has been assigned, and Emefiele didn't just come out of anywhere, he was governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. The federal government has what do we call it, inherited the assets and liabilities of its predecessor.
Add to that, Ayo, we have a substantive CBN governor who should be answering questions about why Naira scarcity is persistent, especially in the last few days. So, we require answers in that regard.
So that's the lead story of the Nigerian Observer this morning. Above the nameplate, Obaseki pays December salaries, pensions, and guess what? Look at the rider. Workers expect 13th month package.
Amid all of this, it's good to hope,
Classic case of Oliver Twist. Well, that's the story right there. The story is on the front page, and right beside the nameplate, CBN suspends processing fee on large cash deposits. That story is on page 8. You may want to check the inside pages of that paper, the Nigerian Observer, for the details of that particular story. What does that mean? Processing fees on large cash deposits suspended.
Well, it would seem to me, a temporary solution to a bigger problem. The question is what's happening, to the printing of Naira, such that we can have a surfeit rather than a deficit in the bank, reserves. Why is it persisting?
Okay.
What's the policy response of the Apex Bank to all of this?
That's one.
It's persisted for much of the year, and it's needless.
That's on the one hand. On the other hand is the fact that the federal government, through the CBN, has since I think 2012 been pursuing this electronic banking scheme for Nigerians over the years. How have we been able to scale that up to the point that such that even now we're still crying that there is less cash in circulation, almost 3 trillion or thereabout in circulation, and we're still complaining that we don't have enough. There are questions to answer. But however, that electronic banking system that the federal government has been pursuing since about 2012, how come it is still so base, so to speak, that Nigerians are asking for cash withdrawals or cash transactions in physical cash?
Perhaps a good measure of Nigerians still do not trust the system and have not taken up, banking. That's another question on inclusion. What's the CBN doing to get the unbanked into the system? Even
though they championed that also for so many years. Well, that's the Nigerian Observer this morning, and a look at some of the papers today. We're back right after now, and of course, the burning issue. Stay with us.
The crisis rocking the Rivers State House of Assembly took a new twist on Monday, December 11, 2023, as 27 of the 32 lawmakers believed to be loyal to the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike announced their defection to the All Progressives Congress on the floor of the House. Martins Amewule, who is the speaker of the group, begins the day's proceedings by reading out his own letter addressed to the deputy speaker of his group before going ahead to state the reason for the defection of 27 other lawmakers from his group.
I write to bring to the attention of this August Assembly my decision to leave the People's Democratic Party, PDP. This decision to leave the PDP is necessitated by the division in the People's Democratic Party, of which I was elected to this House. In particular, the tussle around who the National Secretary of the PDP is has now sharply divided the party and made it unclear as to who is the National Secretary of the party, thereby making it difficult for me to chart an appropriate communication channel. The reason for the defection by the 27 members of this House are purely in line with the provisions of the 1999 Constitution as altered, specifically Section 109. And the condition for the defection is division in your party. And there is clearly division in the People's Democratic Party. There are court processes as evidence, because the Constitution is also seeking for evidence, and the evidence is clear. All the court processes are hereby attached by all the members, and it is before the House, and the House has already before this time deliberated on all the issues in the PDP, and we feel there is sufficient division, and for that reason, members have the choice to move to the All Progressive Congress, as already indicated in these letters.
Meanwhile, the caretaker chairman of the Rivers APC, Mr. Tony Okocha, welcomes the defection, adding that a special ceremony will be held to unveil the 27 lawmakers who are now members of his party.
We commend the defectors, the assembly members. You see, 27 persons, 27 members cannot equate with 4. And if the governor of the state, who heads the executive arm of government in Rivers State, had decided to lend vent or give vent to the 4 persons over and above 27 persons, then you know that there is a complete anathema. It is not a thing anybody we want to tolerate.
Elsewhere, the defection continues to elicit reaction, with one of the prominent voices in Rivers State pointing out how this development will affect the budgeting process.
Because the moment there was the National Working Committee dissolving the state ESCO of the APC and then having someone that is loyal to former Governor Wike as the chairman of the party, I saw this coming, and more defections are going to come in the days ahead. And then you look at the State Executive Council, they have sat down to approve 800 billion as the appropriation bill for 2024. Now that is going to the State Assembly. Who are the people that control the Assembly? It is now the APC. So you are going to have a system whereby that bill may not be passed, and then the governor may not be able to work. And that is the beginning of the possibility of the resumption of the impeachment process that was thwarted as a result of the intervention of some elders in Rivers State.
The gale of defections is coming barely 24 hours after some SDP and APC members announced their defection to the PDP. Charles, Upper Room, Channels Television News.
All right, so that is what we're going to start off with here today on the program. We've got Mr. Joe Johnson, Commissioner for Information, Rivers State, as well as Honorable Enemy George, who is the Chairman, House Committee on Public Petition. They both join us virtually this morning. And here in the studios, we've got Mr. Monday Obani, former Chairman, Section of Public Interest and Development, that's SPDL for the NBA, and former Second Vice President of the NBA. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today.
Thank you.
Morning, Mr. Enemy George and Joe Johnson as well. So let's start from both of you there on this particular matter. Perhaps I should go to Mr. Johnson. So how is the Rivers State government, how are they responding to this defection of members who were in PDP now to the APC? Okay, all right. Yeah, we'll get Mr. Johnson much later. But Mr. Enemy George, who's Chairman House Committee on Public Petition. So this action, yes, the Speaker read out a notice citing division in the party. But could you give us a background? Is it that these were irreconcilable differences, or after the meeting that held over the weekend in Port Harcourt, that was when this decision was taken?
Good morning, Chamberlain. I'm very glad to be here. First, I'm here as Chairman House Committee on Information. When and how the decision was taken is not important. What's important is that 27 members of the Rivers State House of Assembly came together and decided to move to the APC. And the reasons that we have given are very clear. There's a strong division in our party. When the secretariat of our party is dysfunctional, when we don't even know who the secretary of the PDP at the national level is, when efforts to establish correspondences with our party's secretariat proves futile, then it leaves us no choice. That shares a clear division in our party. So we had no choice to move to the APC. And then come to think of it, it's common knowledge that we voted for Mr. President. If we found him good enough to vote for him, if we keyed into the Renewed Hope agenda even when he was not president, now that he's president, why not join him and fulfill his campaign promises? Why not work with him to change the fortunes of Nigeria, especially at a time as difficult as this? So if we found him worthy to vote for him, I think we should find him worthy to be on the same side of history with him and work close with him as he tries to transform, as he tries to change the fortunes of Nigerians. So we're indeed very happy that we took that decision.
Do we expect the Minister of FCT to follow suit?
Well, Chamberlain, I'm an adult citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The 27 members of the House of Assembly are adults, celebrated politicians who work hard and work to represent their people. A lot of them ranking members. I'm doing my third term in the House of Assembly as I speak. So I think I can take my own decisions. I can't speak for the Minister of FCT, sincerely. He's still a member of the PDP. If he chooses to be there, that's okay. He's a political leader of the state. The man has grown beyond party level. He's the political leader of Rivers State as we speak. So wherever he thinks will help him add value to the system, wherever he thinks will help him add value to what Mr. President is doing, whatever he thinks we will help him add value to the development of Rivers State, so be it. I sincerely cannot speak for him. I've spoken to myself and then for my colleagues.
Well, it's understandable if you won't, preempt or say that, because if he likes that to happen when it will happen. But I mean, clearly, he would have sanctioned all of these things, because if you all met over the weekend, then you can't take this decision without him saying, all right, good to go.
No, we had our own issues. We don't need His Excellency former governor of Rivers State and the Minister of FCT to sanction anything. Chamberlain, put yourself in my shoes. We have been in the eyes of the storm in the past few weeks. For crying out loud, the hallowed chambers of the Rivers State House of Assembly, the temple of democracy in Rivers State, was burnt down to ashes. That's been incredible. The official residence of the Speaker of the 10th Assembly of Rivers State, Right Honorable Martin Amewole, was brutally, viciously attacked by hired thugs. Lives of members have been threatened individually and collectively. My party did not speak. As I speak to you, nobody from the PDP National has even reached out to say, guys, what is going on in Rivers State? How do we come in? How safe are you guys? Nobody to this moment. I challenge anybody to tell me that they came forward, they reached out to us, or even spoke out. Chamberlain, you are a media man, you are a journalist, you are a press man. You've been concerned about Rivers State. But the party I called my party was never concerned, was never bothered, never came through, never spoke to anybody. Efforts to reach them were efforts in futility. What do you expect us to do? Of course, I'll go to where I'll have protection. I'll go to where I can add value. I'll go to where I can be seen. I'll go to a place that is organized. And so we came together. Yes, go ahead.
Why did, because I mean, some of these matters, there were different court orders from both parties on this matter. So that gave the impression that both parties want this matter resolved having gone to court. And now, this action. So doesn't that...
Chamberlain, yeah. I'm sorry, please. I'm sorry. When you say parties, please, what parties are we referring to, please?
Parties are groups. The House of members in the House, the Speaker, and then you also have interest in Rivers State House of Assembly.
There is no faction in the Rivers State House of Assembly. The Rivers State House of Assembly is made up of 32 members. We've lost one of our dear colleagues, and that makes us 31. 27 members cannot be on one side. Then you call 4 members who had been suspended, a faction. You know, there's a lot of mistruth out there. There's a lot of misinformation out there. Look at it, Timberlane. You suspend 4 members of the House of Assembly, and then they go out there and then call themselves a faction. A faction of where? You've been suspended from proceedings. Okay, you say you have your own speaker. Where do 4 people elect a speaker? The House of Assembly cannot function with principal officers. We have 6 principal officers. Where are their principal officers? So I think the press has also enabled them to peddle this mistruth and misinformation. Because the day we suspended them, we had correspondence from Channels TV. We had from TVs, from all the major news outfits. And then the same people will go and report that there's a faction. There's no faction. And again, I also need to correct this impression that there's a court order or any kind of court order stopping the Rivers State House of Assembly from performing its constitutional responsibilities. No, sir, there is none. There is none. As a matter of fact, rather, we have a court order that restricts the executive from interfering with the activities of the House of Assembly. For instance, the court ordered the executive not to tamper with the funds meant for the running of the House of Assembly. But in breach of that order, the executive has gone ahead to stop the funds meant for the running of the House of Assembly. That's the highest level of abuse of power. That's an abuse on the intendment of the Constitution, Section 4 of the Constitution 1999 as altered, Section 5 and Section 6, which gives us clear horizontal separation of powers, which makes all 3 arms of government equal, which makes none superior to the other one. So what is going on is the executive trying to bully the legislature into submission, trying to cow the legislature, trying to suppress the legislature, trying to repress the legislature. And it's fine, because I think in due time, the law would take its course. We have a ground norm, which is the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which is our funds et origo. And then the Constitution tells us how to do what. Our concern is to follow strictly the prescriptions and the dictates of the Constitution. And so we're not bothered, we're unfettered.
Well, you know, some people will say that this division, sorry to interrupt you, Honorable George, but some people will say these divisions which you cite are a bit controversial because the PDP at the national level, at least there is one spokesperson whom we know and, you know, whose statements are usually read as a response to matters like this. And he believes, or he has issued a statement saying that all of you who defected from the PDP to the APC have now lost your seats and that needs to be effected. How that is going to pan out is, you know, is going to be very interesting to see. But that is the position of the PDP as at today. They believe that there is no division within the party and that you have taken this decision willy-nilly, and as such, you should face the consequences.
I think there are two issues here. First of all, that spokesperson is misinformed and does not know the law. Secondly, there's a clear division in our party. We have 2 court cases, more than 2 court cases, but there are two principal ones, one in Abuja about the secretaryship of the PDP and one in Lagos. What more division can you even call division? I'm telling you that we tried desperately to establish correspondence with the secretariat of our party, and it was an effort in futility. As I speak to you, not even you can tell me who the secretary at the national level of the People's Democratic Party is. Haba. What more division are you looking for? And again, I'm glad that finally a spokesperson found his voice to speak. I said to you earlier, we've been in the eyes of the storm. The spokesperson did not speak. The party did not speak. The party did not come through. I've said to you, the hallowed chambers, the temple of democracy in Rivers State, in an unprecedented manner, was burnt down. The spokesman did not speak. Our party did not come through. Our party did not even as much as ask what is going on in Rivers State, or maybe try to put in some internal dispute resolution mechanism to try to settle the issue. Nobody.
No,
Nobody. So I'm glad.
Sorry to interrupt you once more.
I'm sorry. Hold on. Yes. Yeah, no. I said yesterday when I was granting an interview that they say laughing at infirmity and deformity is ignominy. So I would not laugh at anyone. But I'm in awe as to how suddenly a voiceless voice can suddenly find its voice when it's not even necessary. So I'm not important to you. As a member of your party, I was brutally attacked. I was almost killed. The Hallowed Chambers was burnt down. As a principal member of the People's Democratic Party, you did not speak. I have moved on, and you finally find your voice. I'll be shocked if that spokesperson can sit here on this station, on this program, and speak to these issues. He should be so embarrassed that he will not even come up on this show.
Honorable Judge, are you saying then that it is okay? It is okay because from the look of things now, you claim that all the other 4 members, the remaining 4 members who did not defect with you, have been suspended. Are you saying then that it is okay for the Rivers State House of Assembly to be a one-party house? Is that what you're saying?
My sister, we were a one-party house before now when we were all in the PDP. And so if we move to the APC, we're still a one-party house. We've been like that for so many years. Look, what is important is what benefits, what cauldron of benefits we can scoop for our constituents. What's important is the collective interest of Rivers people. What party I find myself to bring those benefits is absolutely not important. The Rivers man on the streets of Port Harcourt, on the streets of Buguma, on the streets of Krakrama does not care what party I am. He wants to know what value I can add to my constituency. He wants to know what I can do to better the fortunes of Rivers people. And then I think that
you think you'll be able to do that if you do not work with the governor of Rivers State?
I didn't get you, please.
Do you think you'll be able to deliver good governance and impact the lives of the people who voted you if you do not work with the current governor of the state?
Look, you see, we must never forget the intendments of the Constitution, which is our fons et origo, which is our ground norm. The intendment of the Constitution is that the 3 arms of government will be separate and function independently. There's justice in the system when the 3 arms of government function harmoniously but independently, where one arm does not interfere with the activities of the other arm. When these 3 arms, the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature, function effectively and independently, then there will be justice, then there will be development, then there will be governance. So it's not, I wasn't sent here, the Constitution did not say I should be best friends with the executive arm of government. The Constitution says, legislature, go and perform your tripartite responsibility of legislation, representation, and oversight.
All right.
The Constitution says, hey, executive, go and perform your duty to execute the laws as so made by the House of Assembly. Judiciary, please go and interpret and enforce the laws. Provided we're working within the confines and prescriptions and dictates of the Constitution, my dear sister, my dear brother, we have no problem. Development will come, and the interest of Rivers State will still be at
okay. Just hang on a minute. We've got Mr. Obani here, who is a lawyer. Good morning again, and thank you for joining us this morning. So this particular matter, first of all, these orders that we've seen in the court, does this movement from one party to the other by parties who have been in court invalidate the proceedings, as it were?
The proceedings in court?
Or the orders that were given?
No. The orders are specifically targeted at some of the defendants that the parties took to court, asking for a restraining order against any interference in their legislative function. If you look at the 2 orders, the first one was by the majority members, the 27 members, which my brother has mentioned. I think they went to court in Abuja to get an order, not allowing any interference in their legislative function by any any other agency. Senate was joined in this suit. Remember that the Constitution allows the takeover of the Legislative Assembly of the state, where it appears that they are not practically performing their responsibility. The Constitution has made that provision, but what they did now is to preempt, that situation, and they went to court and got a restraining order that there shouldn't be any interference, including the issue of their finances, of the running of the house, that there shouldn't be any stoppage whatsoever. And they got the order. It was made ex parte. Then the other four factions also went to court, but this time around at a Federal High Court in Port Harcourt. And then they joined the other speaker, and then they joined the police, also asking that they should not also be interfered with, in their legislative function. And they demanded several other reliefs, but those orders were denied. The court denied granting those orders, rather made an order that parties should be put on notice, and then went ahead and said that the issue of maintaining status quo should be sustained, that there shouldn't be anything done to interfere in the legislative function. So as I speak to you now, both parties are parading valid orders of the court.
So, having gone through some of these orders, but now, for those who are asking that their seats be declared vacant, citing Section 1, and I would, the speaker himself also cited while he was making that announcement, how valid is their quest?
The issue is that it's a factual situation. If you want to defect, in accordance with the provision of the Constitution, it says you must show the reason why you are doing this, and the only reason that the Constitution allows is that there must be crisis within your political party. In other words, it's only even the Legislative Assembly that the Constitution made a provision for them to advance reasons why they must defect to another political party. The executive and others, the Constitution was very silent. So if you want to defect from one political party to another, as a member of Legislative Assembly, you must cite the reason why you are doing this. And the reason only allowed is that there must be crisis within your political party. So it's a factual situation. Wow. The court will examine it, are there really, is there a crisis within your political party? If there is, then you have the right to defect. But if there is none, the court will make a pronouncement as to whether you should vacate your seat. It's a factual situation.
Given what we've seen over the years, because this is not the first time this sort of crisis is happening in any House of Assembly, and even at the National Assembly, where members, elected members on the floor of the National Assembly have cited divisions within their party. Yeah. Do you think it is important that these sort of, what a division will mean should be clearly spelled out? Because we've heard right now from one of the members of the Rivers State House of Assembly what he believes and given examples of why he believes that the PDP is currently divided.
Yes. It's clearly a bit amorphous now. If you look at the provision, it's a crisis. That crisis was not defined. What constitutes a crisis? To what extent or what degree, will there be, problem within a political party before you can now term it to be a crisis that can allow members now to defect? So it's very amorphous. It's not clearly stated. And that's the reason why any small crisis within a political party, any member can catch in on that and say, look, gentlemen, there are crises within my political party, so I have a right to make a movement. So I think that your suggestion is something that we should look into. It should be clearly defined what, at any point in time, should constitute, a crisis. Or maybe by judicial pronouncement, the courts can also help, because not everything actually should be in a law book. Mm-hmm. The law cannot make provision for every detail. But by virtue of practice or going to court to challenge some of the provisions of the law, the court by judicial precedent can establish, what actually constitute, crisis within a political party that can authorize a movement. That can also be done. But we can also use the law, the legislative enactment to clarify some of these crises and avoid things like this, But as I said earlier, what I want to say concerning judicial intervention in political cases is that I don't want judiciary to be rubbished by politicians. As much as possible, let the court try as much as possible to remain neutral. Politicians will play their role or whatever they do in the country and all that, but judiciary should not be, used as an institution. Most times in these ex parte orders, we said that the court should avoid unless it is very exceptional, to grant expiatory order. As much as possible, let them try to insist that the other party should be put on notice, because if that has been done in this case now, we won't have this issue of conflict. I mean, two others now, being paraded by parties, all insisting that they have valid orders. The court could have solved that problem and said, gentlemen, go and put the other person on notice. I want to hear why I should not make this particular restraining order. So in that instance, by that pronouncement, he solved the problem once and for all. But when you begin to entertain expiatory orders most time, it creates confusion in the system. Now, which one will the police obey? Because police they are all joined, they are joining this suit, so they will be having problem as to obedience. Which one? You have this order saying I should, the other one says I should stand attention, the other one says I should be restrained and all that. So that conflict can be avoided by issue of putting parties on notice so that you can solve the problem once and for all. That's my position here.
All right, let's go to our colleagues in Lagos.
Oh, okay, thank you, Chamberlain. Mr. Obani, still on judicial intervention. Let's take a look at Section 109, subsection 1G, particularly the second paragraph. Provided, well, the condition, for a House of Assembly member losing their seat, provided that his membership of the latter political party is not as a result of division in the political party of which he was previously a member of. You're saying that the Constitution does not clearly state what a crisis would be. But if we cast our minds back to events of about 3 weeks ago, where the governor wanted to go and, see things for himself following the arson on the State Assembly and he was shot at, are you saying that besides that, let's also look at what has been termed the seeming division between the governor and his predecessor? Are you saying that this doesn't constitute a crisis that will warrant the defection of the 27 State Assembly members?
It has to be the substance of confusion or crisis within the political party, not that there is a situation where the governor was attacked when he went to do an inspection, when he was an inspection tour, and then maybe some thugs, shot at him or did anything that is considered untoward. Then that should be regarded as something that can be described as division within the political party. No, that cannot be. Or that the present governor is disagreeing with his godfather, becomes a good ground for you now to say that there is a division within the political party. That no, it must be something that is substantial, that is affecting the political party as an entity. If you look at the political party, they are clearly in disarray. There is real division in the real sense of that word, affecting the political party as an entity, not that there are differences between political individuals. I mean,
but Mr. Obani,
just as you have mentioned.
But Mr. Obani,
yes.
it's the individuals that make up the political party, which is an entity. Some of them have cited attacks on, the residence of the speaker. Some of them have cited that, there have been assassination attacks on them. So doesn't that warrant a crisis?
It's not fundamental. You can't describe that the Speaker's house was attacked as crisis within the political party per se. That cannot be a proper description. I'm saying that for you to regard a crisis within the political party that can authorize individual members to leave that party, citing differences, citing division, must be something that involve the political party as an entity, that where there are crises within the leadership at the national level. Not that the speaker was attacked becomes crisis, giving you reason now for you to defect. Or that a governor went to inspect, a crisis within his state and he's attacked. And that becomes something that should now be linked to the political party, giving reason for you now to defect. No, that cannot be. So I am saying, look at the party itself. Look at the substance of the situation that have created division. It must affect the political party as an entity. Then you can now probably, as it's a factual situation, the court will look at it and evaluate, this is really crisis within our division that can now warrant individual. But when a governor is being attacked by thugs, it cannot be regarded as crisis within a political party that should warrant, for you to defect.
As much as I'd like to stretch that, I'd want to manage our time by, asking other questions. I'll be coming to Honorable Enemi George, but that will be after the break. Stay with us on Sunrise Daily. We'll be right back. welcome back. And Honorable Enemi, I'm coming straight to you now. I know that your faction within the State Assembly has been asked this a number of times, but it would seem like we can't ask this question enough. Has this defection been precipitated by what has been termed the seeming feud between former governor of the state and Minister Nyesom Wike and the governor, Siminalayi Fubara?
Thank you. Before I answer that, I think it's important for me to clear an impression. There's this impression that the principal reason for our resignation is because of the attack on the Hello Chambers and Mr. Speaker, the attack from Mr. Speaker. No, we should isolate the issues. In my resignation letter that I wrote to Mr. Speaker, in my notice I sent to Mr. Speaker, I attached records from the courts in Lagos and a record from the courts in Abuja concerning the secretaryship tussle of the PDP, and evidence that it was impossible to see who the secretary of the PDP is as we speak. The most essential organ of the party is the secretariat. And when the secretariat is dysfunctional and inaccessible, that means that there is a crisis. There's no crisis that is more than that. That's on the one hand. Secondly, my dear brother, who I have a lot of respect for in the studio, spoke about 2 court orders. No. These are materially different issues. The court order from the 4 guys says maintain status quo. What is status quo? They went to court to be declared that this or that, and the court denied all their prayers and said, go back and maintain status quo. The court in Abuja says that, hey guys, don't interfere with the constitutional responsibility of these people. Executive, allow them to function. Oh, National Assembly, allow them. They say a toad does not run in the daytime for nothing. There are reasons for those steps that were taken. So those two issues are materially different. Okay, so there's no mix-up in this, and I felt I should clear that impression. Secondly, you asked about the feud between the FCT minister and the governor, as some will say, father and son. That's, if there is at all, that's where it is. We're talking about legislative issues. We're talking about decisions of 27 members of the House of Assembly from the perspective of the individual and from a collective perspective of 27 members who have formed this very strong bond. That's our decision. We're adults. For crying out loud, I'm doing my 3rd tenure in the Rivers State House of Assembly. I have very respected colleagues, very celebrated politicians, very forthright and dependable, who can take their own decisions. The minister, as of today, is a member of the People's Democratic Party. I cannot speak for him. I agree that he's a political leader of Rivers State as presently constituted. I agree that a lot of us rode this high in our political growth because of the support he gave to us and because of the platform he gave to us. It's father to all of us, including the governor. But I cannot speak for him. If he feels that where he is, being the PDP will help him, that man's interest always is the development of Rivers State and how much he can attract development to our state. His passion right now is to add value to the renewed hope agenda that Mr. President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is focused on. If he feels that he can get his full expression in the PDP, if he feels that that's where he can be able to do all he hopes to do, then I have no issues with that. So I don't want to preempt him. He has his own decisions. We've had no communication as regards that.
But Honorable George, do you deny that your faction is loyal to Minister Nyesom Wike? And you in fact stated when you talked about the reason for your defection that after all you voted for the current president, Bola Tinubu, during the presidential election.
Yes. And I'm going to ask you a question. Is there any politician in Rivers State as presently constituted that is not loyal to His Excellency, the FCT minister? Is the governor of the state right now not loyal to the FCT minister? Are members of other parties not loyal to him? So that's not the issue at all. 27 members, of course, are loyal to our boss. I just told you that that's the political father of Rivers State. Everybody, including the governor, is loyal to our political leader. So that has nothing to do with field or no field. These are isolated issues. So nobody should tie our decision, if it was really connected, maybe you will have seen the FCT minister moving with us at the same time, and then the so-called other loyalists. But how come it's just us, the assembly members? I've told you the issues. The principal issue is the division in the PDP, but there are other attendance matters. But what made me raise that issue was the fact that the PDP could finally speak. I'm in shock. I'm in awe. Because if a responsible party would have tried to intervene in the crisis that we've had in the States, there's been this back and forth between the executive and the legislature, who are all members of the PDP. I tell you, my sister, I challenge anybody to give me one evidence that the PDP tried to intervene in this issue. And then suddenly they find their voices. Oh my God. I am still in awe.
All right, well,
still in absolute awe.
Honorable, there are a couple of questions that I'd like to ask you, but let me quickly take this back to Mr. Ubani. Well, Mr. Ubani, you may want to respond to the issues he raised in your response earlier, in your comments earlier, that there are two substantive cases, and he said that there are two completely different issues. How do you respond to that?
No, the point is that there are two others, the two cases that I have here. I hope you're hearing me. There are two cases. There is one that was instituted by the majority speaker. That one, I think, is in Abuja, where they asked for restraining orders, and all their requests were actually granted. Now, there is this other one that took place in Port Harcourt, Federal High Court, Port Harcourt, where the four-man members of the House also asked for restraining orders against their legislative duties, so that they shouldn't be disturbed and all that. So the court now denied them, and he's right with that. But the court went ahead and said, look, I am making an order for the other parties to be put on notice, and then that all parties, especially the defendants that are affected in this particular suit, should maintain status quo. They should maintain status quo. So that is an order of the court. That is what I mean by that.
Okay.
So I don't think we are disagreeing. We are saying that there are two cases now that are pending before the Federal High Court. I don't know whether there are return dates, in this matter. I've not seen the return date. But the point is that I don't want the judiciary to be involved in the political affairs, political parties. They should not get involved. What they can only do most time when they come with these ex parte applications is to ask the parties to be put the other party on notice. Let me hear all of you, and then make an order once and for all. So avoid a situation where people will not be clinging to one ex parte order and want to make it look as if it's a perpetual order for which now they can now use in order to cause a lot of confusion within the system. So there are two orders. He agreed there are two cases, and the court made an order in one, restraining. The other one refused, but made an order of maintaining status quo. So I think they are valid orders of the court. That's what I'm trying to say. And also on the issue of whether there is crisis, as I said earlier, he has mentioned the issue of secretaryship within the political party. The secretary is a very major organ a very important party member, and then he is a very important organ within the political party. So if there are issues in court and order, he has cited it as something that would have made them now to say, look, we don't have anyone we're communicating with within the political party. There is total confusion, and so we have a right. And so politicians always want to find one reason or the other for them to move to another political. So they have found a reason with crisis within the secretary position and said this is crisis within the political party and division, and for that reason, we are moving. As I said earlier, it's a factual situation. The court will look at all that.
We'll get to those other issues, Mr. Ubani. Yeah, but one thing, let's look forward for a bit. Back and then forward. There have been cases in this country, Mr. Ubani, where legislators, I hope you can hear me, legislators that are less than half the number of members of the House of Assembly governed the state House of Assembly for quite some time, perhaps even until the tenure of that particular assembly expired. Now we have something similar to that. Do you see the same situation playing itself out? The Edo State example, for instance, is still quite fresh in the minds of many, and that's not the only one that we've had in our recent history. So what do you see happening in this case?
You see, we always preach against situations like this, because if you really want to follow the law, there are requisites, there is a provision in the law, even in their own rule, internal rule, the number that should constitute majority at every point in time in their sitting. The rules are there. Now, if you look at a member house of 31, and then 27 is on one side and 4, there is no way 4 can actually constitute a proper, sitting. And that is the truth, legally speaking. 27, of course, we have, the requisite majority within which they can sit at every point in time. But 4 members cannot in any way. But you see, it is a crisis we must always try to avoid. And that's why the Constitution says where there is this problem, the National Assembly comes in order to take over the legislative function of the State House of Assembly, especially now that we are in the era of budgeting. The state now will suffer. Where 2 elephants fight, the grass suffers. So I think the political leaders in Rivers at this juncture should see this as a very big problem for the state, especially when it concerns the issue of governance. The citizens have elected their representative for good governance, and they're not getting it now in the light of this crisis. So they can come together, bury their hatchet, bury their differences, and say, gentlemen, we cannot allow this. We are matured men and women. We shouldn't allow this to continue to happen, because it is detrimental to the progress of our state. So it's not something that should prescribe. But whatever it is, majority is really on the other side, and that is the truth. And they have the law, clearly on their side.
Do you also see a situation where, because of course you heard that the House of Assembly has already made a pronouncement as far as they are concerned, the governor shouldn't hold their funds. Do you see a situation, maybe legally speaking or not, where the governor indeed, as they are claiming, hold their funds, and that's the funds of the House of Assembly in Rivers State? Do you see it happening?
Normal thing under the law is that the governor should release their funds. It shouldn't even be under the control of this. If we follow the Constitution strictly, we know there has been this issue of provision in the Constitution that both judiciary and the legislative should remain independent. I mean, in terms of even their funding, even in terms of getting their money, it shouldn't go through the executive. But we have a situation where the governors of the state control virtually all the other arms of government, And now the governor felt, I can't fund my enemies. I can't give them money in order for them to use to fight me. So the only way to do that is to deny them. This is politics. But legally speaking, their money should not in any way be tampered with by another arm of government, going by the provisions of the Constitution. Okay. But this is politics. This is politics. And naturally, every person will not want to empower his enemy. So what he's doing now is to deny them funding. But legally speaking, that is absolutely wrong.
Now, there's when you stated the issue of the politics of this, let me ask you this question, and I hope you can even speak to it at all. Now, given the question Bukola asked earlier, the kind of discord, call it a tiff, between the governor of Rivers State today and the former governor who is the minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike. Do you see a situation where that people describe as the voice of Esau, the voice of Jacob, the hand of Esau in this matter?
The truth of the matter is that the godfather and the godson, are having political differences. And then if you remember that the president of the country at the time in this matter had to intervene, he called them to Aso Rock, and everyone felt, that this matter would have been resolved. Everyone may not be like Godswill Akpabio, who installed the godson, and when there was, problem between, he stood up. He stood out and said, look, I'm not going to get involved, and left the man to run his administration for 8 solid years. There are those who may not want such a thing, and of course, Wike has also said, look, you can't invest, allow somebody probably to rubbish your investment, that's why, but what is the level of interference? There are some godsons that can allow some level of interference. There are those who would not allow much interference. So the truth of the matter today, as I speak, is that there is political difference between the godson and the godfather. Okay. But how both of them can really play mature politics and come together and say, gentlemen, it is in the interest of the people. Let's not probably, carry this fight to the extent of, injuring the citizens we are representing. Everyone will say maybe Wike is now at the national level. FCT minister, a big job. Allow the governor whom you have probably put, everyone knows that you are the one who put him there, to actually carry out his responsibility. But not every godfather may want to allow that to happen. Everyone may not be gospel like what. So
all right,
he wants to be involved in what goes on in the state.
Okay, let me quickly ask Mr. George, Honorable George.
Nobody should deny it.
Yeah, let me quickly ask Honorable George this one question. And the issue, the situation that you have cited is that of division in the PDP. How prolonged is that matter of the division in the PDP, which you cited in your correspondence to the Speaker? Because in your response to my colleague here, you have said that the differences between the governor and his predecessor have nothing to do with this. If that is the case, how prolonged is this matter that it now has to fall at a time when there is a difference within the governor and his predecessor?
You see, my brother, the same confusion that makes you ask this question is the same confusion that makes us live. How prolonged is it? Please, if you can help me answer the question, help me. We don't know how long that will last. We don't know. We're not even seeing, and we're not even seeing an end in sight. There's no end in sight. They are at different courts. I think more than two, but I'm sure two. I was able to get records from the Abuja court and from the Lagos court. I understand there's one in Enugu, and then there are a lot of issues all over the place. You can't even measure the depth of the issues. So it's absolutely confusing, and so that's why we have taken the stance that we have taken. For the other one, I don't know, whatever you want to. It's left for you as a press man. I understand that you will do a lot of investigative journalism, so you can further investigate and ask yourself why the coincidence. I'm just going to isolate the issues, and I'm giving you. I like to speak according to law. I like to speak within the confines of what the law allows me. You've asked me the reasons for my defection, and I've tried to restrict myself to constitutional provisions. What the Fonds et Origo allows me to do, what the Conundrum allows me to do. And like I cited in my letter to Mr. Speaker, that's what it is. I've stated the part of the Constitution that allows me to do that. I've said the reasons that I perceive to be division that nobody in his right senses can deny. The most functional organ of the party, I keep saying it, is the Secretariat. When the Secretariat is dysfunctional, if for months I cannot reach my party, I write a letter, I don't know where it is going to. Please, what more can be defined as division? The party is divided into two.
Yeah, pardon me. Honorable, we'll come back to you in a bit. But we've got Comrade Mao Nangiobo, who is the Secretary General of Ijoyu Congress. He joins us as well to weigh in on this subject matter.
My brother Mao.
Yeah, good morning and thank you for joining us this morning, Mao. So could you tell us, watching all of these things playing out in the States, how are you
good to see you.
handling this?
Good morning. Good morning. I don't know if I'm audible enough.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Well, I wasn't really prepared. Okay. But basically, my name is Mao Nangiobo, and I'm the Secretary General of the Youth Council Worldwide. Fortunately for me, the young man there speaking is my brother and friend, and the particular person representing me in the Rivers State House of Assembly, Honorable Enemy George. Now, we're not here to bandy words. I'm not in his political party. They've always known me to be on the other side. I'm for the people. Now, the truth is, we have what we call representative democracy. My brother and friend, Enemy, this will be your third term in office. And you've never for any day called us for anything called, town hall, to tell us what's going on in the Rivers State House of Assembly. First of all, I voted for you, I campaigned for you, I spent my money for you because I felt you were going to represent us properly. Now you have defected to another party. There are issues in the Rivers State House of Assembly. You've never called us, Ashaitor constituency, two people, for us to now reason with you to say, okay, this is the way to go. You don't represent yourself. So can you also tell the world how and why you arrived at this very position? For example, you are at liberty to go to any party, whether HIV party, PDP. I have never been to any party or belonged to any party. But the truth is, why have you guys just taken this step? Could it be bolder step? Could it be for self-aggrandizement? Could it be that you are pursuing something? Then number two, I am not for the governor, but what has the governor really done? Can you guys tell us what's going on? Because you have not told us. You are my rep in that House of Assembly. So can you just speak to the world as we're here today? Let everybody hear the reason that you said you've written, to the speaker, whether speaker or no speaker. But let's hear from you, please.
Honorable Judge, well, since he's put a question, we're going to take, go ahead and respond to that before we come to the next item.
Okay, it's good to see my younger brother Mao in the studio. He's one young man that I've always liked and encouraged, who I think is really doing well in his endeavors. He has just said here that he's not a politician. He has also said that he's not in my political party. Unfortunately, I think he's not in touch with modern realities. Unfortunately so. Because I do town hall meetings. I don't think there's any member of the House of Assembly that do town hall meetings and constituency outreaches more than me. I do that once every year. Everybody who knows me, all my wards, everybody in my constituency knows that I do yearly outreach. We hold town hall meetings. We have conversation. Well, he may not know, or maybe he knows and has just decided to ignore the fact that I met with my constituents. I met my constituents. We sat down. I have politics beyond my constituents. There's a wind beneath my wings. There are people whose goodwill who I ride on. I have political leaders. We have a hierarchy. I didn't come on my own. I used to be a banker.
Yeah, Honorable Judge, just for the sake of time, yes. Could you just talk about the part that they want to know what the governor has done? In the first instance, how all of this started.
Okay, there was. I ordinarily wouldn't want to go into that, but because my brother has asked this question, let me respond to him. If he knows the processes that impeachments take, then he will know that an impeachment notice at that time was sent to the governor. The governor is in receipt of an impeachment notice. But look, listen. Personally, the governor is my friend. I have a lot of respect for the governor. We have a good relationship. If I call him tomorrow morning, he will pick, and then we'll have conversation, provided it doesn't concern all of these issues and then all of that. This is not a personal issue. The governor is in receipt of our impeachment notice that contains all the grounds.
But the people don't know. Tell the people some of the reasons.
No. Look, I'm an arm of government. Do you understand? And no matter where this goes to, I mean, you cannot mention Rivers State government and then I am not interested.
Well, one of your constituents just said they don't know why they want to impeach the governor.
There's what we call privileged information. If the governor wanted to make it public, he has the documents, he will have made the grounds public. So I wouldn't, out of respect for the system, I wouldn't want to go into that.
That is interesting, Honorable, that you say you don't want to go into that because the governor has publicly also asked, what have I done?
The governor...
Just a moment. That was not a question I wanted you to respond to.
The governor is in possession of the grounds.
Honorable George, if I may interrupt you, that's not the question I wanted you to respond to. And Mr. Mao, please just hold on a moment. I'd like Mr. George Honorable George to respond to this issue. Right now, you have defected to the All Progressives Congress. Yes, we know that the NW, the State Working Committee of the party was dissolved, was it last week or so? But we also know that the former governor, another former governor, Governor Rotimi Amechi, is in the APC. To the best of our knowledge, he hasn't resigned from that party. Himself and the immediate past governor had a running battle, and you have also said that the APC is better organized. I mean, in 2019, the APC wasn't even on the ballot as a result of the disorganization within the party. Now you're saying that you're defected to the APC. How is this going to work for your own political future within this party?
What I said earlier, I said to you that the collective interest of our people is what we put at the fore. You've mentioned some concerns as regards the former governor of Rivers State, Rotimi Amaechi. For crying out loud, that's a leader in Rivers State, and no one can take away that fact. He's a member of the APC, so that means that we're in the same party. If the opportunity comes for us to work together, why not? We'll work together harmoniously. And I think
if the opportunity comes for you to work together, he's the leader of the APC in Rivers State, isn't he?
Look, listen, let me tell you, I'm a member of the APC right now as I speak. I'm in Mr. President's party now. I've keyed into the Renewed Hope agenda. And so what's important is the Renewed Hope agenda.
All right.
Anybody who has interest in the Renewed Hope agenda is my friend. And then we can work together.
Okay, so who knows now? Because if he goes to court and says, nope, I have to stake my claim in this party, I wonder if members will move again, saying there's a crisis in the party. But Mao, as we wind up on this one, part of what the members have said, I think Honorable George also spoke about that in passing, about the judgment, the court orders, so he's saying, in fact, they blatantly accuse the government of not releasing their funds, withholding their funds, and then the House of Assembly is being burned, some of the things going on in the state. So in that regard, there's likely going to be a challenge here because according to the law, how will the governor get the budget passed, which would then, for development of river states? Do you see all of this being sorted out in the nearest future?
Okay, that question is...
Yes, for you, Mao. Right? Sorry, Honorable Judge, it's for Mao.
For me?
Yeah, Mao.
For Mao, please.
For me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so very simply, Rivers State have always been in the news for all the wrong reasons, right from 1999, right? This is not new, where a whole lot, this type of charade, this type of show of shame would happen. Now, the governor, has said that he has his own speaker. And the courts, have already now said that the parties should stay action, the so-called Amewule's faction and the Ogaranyans faction should be on their own. Now, if the governor is working with a particular group that he sees as a state House of Assembly, then that's whom he's going to work with. And to my mind, as a person, the governor has the right whatsoever to work with those who are available to work with him within the, the confines of the law. So it's very easy, if I get your question very correctly, that the House of Assembly that is for the governor can pass any law they like.
But Mao, you're Secretary General. You know about processes. So if there are just about 4 of them, can they pass the budget?
Yes, please. Please.
Hello.
Wow, that's for you.
Yes, can you bring back that reception, please?
Okay.
Hello.
I think we're having challenges. Mao,
Can you hear me?
Okay. Just quickly before we wind down.
All right. So I said, can you bring back the reception, please? I didn't get that.
What I'm asking is, you understand processes as Secretary General of your council. If there are 4 members who the governor wants to work with, and there are over 20 others, say 26 or 27, can 4 pass the budget for the governor?
When the 4, by virtue of the position they've just taken, there's the 27. We have 27 vacant space already in the Rivers State House of Assembly.
According to which law? Which court?
According to the Nigerian Constitution, according to even the former governor of Rivers State, the current minister of FCT, who in one of his videos, was also fighting a governor who defected from the APC, from PDP to APC, that position should be declared vacant. So if we're going by what even Wike, that is their master, what Wike is even telling them to do, those 27 positions by now is already vacant. So we only have 4 to 7 or to 5 or 6 House of Assembly members in Rivers State. So even the INEC will be called in to even now conduct another elections for the 27 spaces. That's my...
We need to wind down. Just quickly, Mr. Bani.
Yeah. To bring sanity to what is presently playing out in Rivers, I think the National Assembly should step in now because passing the budget is very critical. He may not take that budget.
National Assembly?
Yeah. The Senate
and they unilaterally just wait.
No. When there is impracticability in the function of a legislative assembly at the state level, the law says that
Has it gotten to that level?
If the issue of budget now is very key, will he be able to present this budget before 27 members and get it passed? Or where will he take it to? So National Assembly steps in and say, look, let's not avoid it because it's interest of the people. My own take. Right. The public interest is very key, and that is interest of this river people.
Okay, we got to go.
Honorable George wanted to intervene on this issue of the budget.
Well, he knows. Well, I almost can tell what Honorable George wants to say. It's just that time. Honorable George, can you do that in 30 seconds?
On the budget to come to his own.
Okay, we can't get across to him. Well, Honorable Enemy George is the Chairman, House Committee on Public Petition, also Chairman, House Committee on Information. We also did have Mao, who is the Secretary General of Ijo Youth Congress, but we did invite Joe Johnson, Commissioner for Information, Rivers State. He agreed to be on the show, but we understand that he eventually couldn't make it. And we've also had Monday Obani, former Chairman, Speedel, NBA, former Second VP of NBA. Gentlemen, thank you all for your time today. All right, well, back in just a moment. Stay on with us. Welcome back. Yes, indeed. Ida Peterside joins us next. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today. Never mind politics and what's going on over there. But look, for this particular one, we can play this and replay this over and over again. CAF royalties, that's what I like to refer to them. The male and female footballers of the year, Victor Osimhen and Asisa Doshoala, all making Nigerians green from ear to ear. This is the kind of news you want to hear on a regular basis, but unfortunately, you can't always have what you want. Well, Mr. Peterside, thank you again for joining us. So, I don't know if I should ask you if you saw this coming, but indeed, haven't seen these awards go to these two people. I mean, understandably, Shola, 6th time now, but we look at our football. Oh boy, that's the downside. But of course, this. Give us your impression, first of all, when these announcements were made.
No, thank you, Chamberlain. Thank you for having me. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
What wonderful! It's like a light in a very dark tunnel. We've suffered immensely from the performance of our national teams in the last few months and few years. If you see the roll call is so encouraging that Osisat won for the female, Osimhen won for the male, and Chiamaka, the goalkeeper of the year. It's just a good sign, absolute good sign that we still have great talents in our national teams. It's just how to harness them, how to put them together to get the desired results.
Speaking about putting them together to get the desired results, and if you look at these individual players, you could almost tell that the grit that they put into it, sticking, and then they kept on going. We never really can say for sure that the system that produced them, at what point, and I know we highlight this time and again, the importance of us having the academies, the structure, the system to produce tons of Osimhen's, Nadozes, and Ashisha, several, but I know it almost sounds like water on stone.
Yes, you should have listened to, obviously you would have had Osimhen saying, even before, accepting the CAF Males Player of the Year award, the first thing he did was to appreciate Emmanuel Amunike. Now, it goes to tell us that we can still produce these players from the grassroots. And this young man came to the scene 8 years ago, and I know a lot of stories surrounding him. He didn't even have boots to play with. And he got there, someone had to loan him a boot to play with. And in the first stanza, no one selected him. And as he was leaving, one of the coaches called Emmanuel's attention to say, what about this tall guy? Remember, he scored 2 goals. This was in 2015. He made the team to the 7 where he shone like a bright star. You know, from there until now. Now, when you look at the trajectory, every one of these players that came from the structures down, came from Nigeria. You know, Osisat, we all know, played for the local teams. Chiamaka played for the local teams. They're playing in Europe now. That's why it is so important, very vital, that the structures must be right. You know, even though we've been hearing structures of late in Port Harcourt, you know, but the structure here has to be right at that national level to be able to produce. Who produce great players? You know, look at how they're doing very well internationally. If we invest more in our, you know, grassroots football, invest more in our FAs, and they'll begin to chunk out this kind of players you see. And imagine how many we can have. You know, we have great talents in Nigeria, and I'm so excited, you know, and they did us wearing the green color just to tell you where they're coming from.
But yeah, I was just going to say, to put it in context for our viewers, I think, well, for Asisat, this is not the first time she's won it.
6 times.
Women seem to be doing really great, because even the Falcons was chosen as Team of the Year. And I think that goes to, you know, say a lot about what the women's team are doing. And when you have to ask what exactly is happening to the men's team, or just to put it in context, just in case you're wondering why this is a big deal, we haven't had this, at least in the male category, Male Player Award, since 1999. We understand Kanu Wankwo was the last person to have won it for the male category. So Victor Osimhen is really doing a great job here, bringing back some pride to our football. But if this is, I mean, if we're in the same country, for God's sake, and the women's team is doing great, they're even still being nominated. This is not Asisat's first time. What exactly is happening with the women's team that is not happening with the male team?
Well, question. That's what we're trying to find out. We've been asking a lot of questions. And for us, those of us that are involved in football, I think a whole lot of emphasis are being placed on players that are playing outside the country. And with that, it's stunting our development. You find out that no one looks into our league. No one is bothered about what happens in our in states, in leagues, and in FAs. The attention has been drifted to Europe, and that's what I think. And when you look at the female team, you will agree with me that in every tournament you will see that we have a whole lot of players that are playing at home. You know, there's this debate that yes, when we used to play, the talk was foreign base versus home base. These days now, it is no longer about foreign base; it is foreign born versus home born. You see, the mentality is very different. Most times when you play, if you come from home here and then you play for the national team and you don't do well, you know that when you come home, your father, mother, uncles, aunties will ask you questions and say, see how far you've disgraced our national team or disgraced the family. So the input is quite different. You know, it's a thing of big debate. I think, again, the coaching is another thing. We need to look at the coaching factor. We've looked at our national team. We have great players. We can genuinely say we're in a season where we have crops of great players. What are we doing with these players? How are we replacing them? You know, who is looking in? The goal for Nigeria. I was invited by West Ham. When I was invited by West Ham, I was playing for Rangers. Ikeshoromo, that was my colleague, was playing for stationary stores. Yes, at the end of the game, we will have one professional player flying, but we're given opportunities. We're being helped, and I think it is very important.
Well, thank you, Mr. Peterside. You know, going perhaps by way of saying the same thing that Maokwe is saying, only this time differently. One of the comments, and I like your reaction to it, is something that I believe that you've also been concerned about. But when Asisat was also receiving her own award, one of the things that she said that really, really struck me is, at the end of the day, if we don't support ourselves, nobody will come to Africa. Nobody will come to this continent to support us. We have to work together as a team because football is a team sport. Let's start at home and go to the world and conquer it. Those were her words. What is holding us back, Mr. Peterside?
I don't know if you're talking politics now or you're talking football.
Well, it's a footballer that made the comment.
When I heard her speech, I wondered what was bothering her, what she knew that we didn't know. I think we've come a long way. We've come a long way in Africa. We're better organized, especially when it comes to the CAF setting. We're better organized. Our clubs are doing well continentally. The political part of it, I'm not a politician, so I don't know what she has heard or seen. But I think what's happening, okay, let me just take it up a little bit further. What is happening in Africa is that we are beginning to depend so much on FIFA, which is not right. Every other federation wants to be independent from FIFA, and we can now meet at FIFA. But what is happening in Africa, everything we do, FIFA sends us a secretary, FIFA sends us an envelope. Yeah, every time there's an opening of a nursery school, you see the FIFA president is here. I think that's what she's saying. I would be saying to the CAF president, this is not our union. Our union is not FIFA. We need to develop ourselves. If CAF needs anything, why don't you speak to Nigeria? Why don't you speak to Morocco?
Oh dear. Well, sincerely hope that we'll be able to get Mr. Peterside back because when... Okay. If you can hear me, please go ahead.
Yes, I can hear you.
Please go ahead.
So the setting has become very, very difficult for Africa where, okay, there's been this argument. They wanted to take part of the African Nations Cup game to Saudi Arabia. Part of the African Nations Cup game, at a point, they wanted to go to Dubai. You can't do that. Nobody.
Well, we hope we'll be able to get Mr. Peterside back on that one. You know. Okay. Go ahead if you can hear me.
I can hear you clearly.
Please go ahead. Well, the network is not really very friendly this morning, Mr. Peterside. Sincerely hope that one of these days we'll be able to have a better conversation with this. But, you know, when those comments that were made by Asisa Toshwala, you know, talking about African football, only speaks to a lot of things. Beyond the politics of the whole conversation is the fact that we need to develop African football. I mean, and I say this, I mean, guys, I don't know what your experiences have been. We are celebrating two noble Nigerians who are doing the nation proud, Victor Sime and Sato Shwala. And a good number of people will just 1 second. Yeah. A good number of people will wonder whether or not, in what way, because it's one of the challenges that many people point out. What contribution has Nigeria, that's an argument some of them will make, made in their sports or sporting prowess to the point that they're able to win these international awards, get international acclaim, and bring the glory to Nigeria, which some of them believe, didn't really contribute to their successes.
Well, it speaks to individual effort, you know, at the level of the footballers who are particularly representing us outside the country. Individual effort now, you know, what Asisat Oshoala is doing and what Victor Osimhen is doing. The question now is, how have we harnessed this, you know? And I was going to ask Mr. Ipitesai, that does this, you know, sufficiently compensate for those years where we thought that we deserved, you know, the African Footballer of the Year award? You know, at the time it was believed it was supposed to have gone to JJ Okocha, and it didn't go to him, you know. So has this compensated for it? But what are we doing back home to harness all of this potential, particularly, you know, with that all-important need to catch them young, you know, to go to those communities where we have huge potential, you know, and Oshoala and Osimhen's feat shows that we do have them, the potential back home. But what are we contributing in terms of investment, in terms of resources, to ensure that, you know, we give visibility to, you know, that talent that is a resident back home?
And it's not that we don't have these things. It's not that we don't have these opportunities or these privileges or these things, latent potential that you talked about. Victor Osimhen was mentioning Emmanuel Amunike the other time. Emmanuel Amunike, I mean, was the one who was Clemens Westerhoff's joker. Yeah. During that World Cup, that the
Olympic Dream Team,
that you know, he was his joker. He didn't feature him until the final match, where he pulled two goals that gave Nigeria the victory at the gold, you know, in that tournament at the time. But let's see if we can still get Mr. Ipitesai back. Mr. Ipitesai, are you still there? Okay, not really. You know, so that is on the one hand, and then, but then in 1986-87, we had the Golden Eaglets. Every single one of them was homegrown. And they had a place where all they did was play this football for quite a number of months. And they went to the Golden Eaglets, the debut Under-17 World Cup, and they beat the whole world to a gold medal. They got this gold medal, brought the glory to Nigeria, and I will never forget the fact that a Nigerian musician, Ebenezer Obey, made a full album in the name of the World Golden Eaglet, he called them. Those were days that we want to come back. Can we have them regularly, Chamberlain and Mokwe?
Well, Christmas comes once a year, you know.
Can you have Christmas regularly?
Well, at least we know it is once a year. So can it be, I mean, not once in 24 years. So really, I mean, of course, female team doing us proud. They're showing that it is possible if we really apply ourselves to it. And it's something that we really should work on as a people. I mean, the fact that our players are doing well individually says that there is so much more potential inherent in our players and that needs to be harnessed, put together. So we need to, as Mr. Ipitesai said, find out why is it that our players are doing well individually? Why is it that our women's team are doing so great as a team? Just in case they start to say it's not just individually we're doing well. But I think there's plenty of digging to be done. And at the end of the day, who knows? We might be able to predict that, well, at least Christmas comes once a year. Maybe at least once a year or every other time. We should be able, or we win this every 2 years. We should be able to do some predictions in that regard, shouldn't we?
Well, yes, and as a matter of fact, we didn't mean to leave out Chiamaka Nnadozie, who won the female goalkeeper of the year. I mean, we're going to ask you that he himself was also between the goalpost in his time with the Super Eagles. So what's going on with that? And of course, he will be elated with this particular award to her. So it's been, I mean, when last was that, as a matter of fact, that we clinched this? But clearly, we'll have a lot to do if we need to keep getting this kind of results. But clearly, I'm just going to go ahead and enjoy the moment with this ladies and gentlemen who won this award, making us all proud, happy. These are the kind of scenarios we need. So that goes to say, look, we don't have to wait for the NFF, whatever it is. Just wherever you can, do what you can to support the team in whatever way forward. Don't be a fair weather fan.
Should they start rating football associations as well? maybe that is true. I mean, if we're doing player of the year, team of the year, coach of the year, perhaps they should have Football Association of the Year, and then we can have something to hold our NFF to say, well, you never show up in any of the, you're not even nominated. So what precisely are you doing as an association?
I mean, at this point, is it fair to call them politicians? Because they can promise a lot when they're contesting for these positions. But when they eventually get there, your guess is as good as mine. Well, there you go. That is the show today. We do thank you all for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow. I'm Chamberlain, so goodbye.
Thank you for being a part. Oh, well.
Do we?
Oh, dear. Well, we just saw now. So sorry about this. I know already signed off, but just to acknowledge, Victor wore Law Alpha Cross and this email. Well, don't want to promise, but...
Yeah, I will take them tomorrow. We got to go, though, unfortunately. But acknowledge and thank you all for it.
Thank you. Well, thank you for watching today. I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf. Goodbye.
Well, I'm told that we can take one or two on this side of the divide. So let's accommodate Festus Akimboyewa, who says, congratulations to Victor Osimhen and Asisa Toshoala for winning the Africa Footballer of the Year award. Truly, Nigeria know they carry last. Well, maybe on Christmas of every year. Ayo.
Well, this one is also from Victor. The law states that at defection, seats become vacant. Why is our judiciary being lax and not effecting it? We'll keep having all these. If the judiciary does not take a firm stance, politicians beat their children and ask them to hold their lips and not shout. Well, as Jamelin has said, we're going to continue this maybe tomorrow or some other time. Thank you for a wonderful time with you today. Amaya Makinde, have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you for watching. I am Bukola Koka.